on Easter Sunday 1960, in Cranley, Surrey, England, to David Latimer. It occurred to him to create a small garden inside a mega bottle. That container was sealed and has only been opened once in 60 years. Surprisingly, the container maintains an ecosystem inside. When David created it, he put some compost and a quart of water in a container 10-gallon glass, and inserted a shoot from a plant called spiderwort, which usually it is not indoor, and he fixed it with a wire. 12 years later, in 1972, he reopened the plant's terrarium to add a little water, before closing it permanently as an experiment. With that one exception, the autonomous ecosystem has remained sealed and flourished for 6 decades. All you need is sunlight. The hardy spiderwort plant, Ortra descantia, has thrived indoors, to fill the 10-gallon container with healthy foliage, by fully surviving with recycled air, nutrients and water. This miniature system has been completely isolated from the outside world. The terrarium is almost 2 meters from a window, so it receives a little sunlight. It grows towards the light, so the bottle is turned over from time to time, so that it grows uniformly. The glass container is located under the stairs in the hallway of his house, where it has remained for many years. Since it has never been reopened, it has never been pruned, it only appears to have grown to the limits of the bottle. It may seem strange to some that a sealed terrarium plant garden should thrive. It thrives like this, but it isn't. The garden is a perfectly self-sufficient ecosystem. Bacteria and compost eat dead plants and break down oxygen emitted by these, converting it into carbon dioxide, which together with the sunlight that enters, is essential for photosynthesis, process by which plants convert light into energy they need to survive, and also with the nutrients they absorb through its roots. And of course, at night, when there is no sunlight to drive photosynthesis, the plant also uses cellular respiration to stay alive by breaking down stored nutrients. Because the bottle garden is a closed environment, that means its cycle of water is also an autonomous process. Photosynthesis creates oxygen and also more moisture in the air. Moisture accumulates inside the bottle and the rains fall back on the plant. The water in the bottle is absorbed by the roots of the plant, released into the air during perspiration, condenses on the ground where the cycle begins again. It is a natural process, so it feeds itself. It is a perfect life cycle. This is an experiment that anyone can try at home. David never thought the plant would survive that long when he sealed the glass jar. It is not known exactly how long it can last. He says that if his adult children or grandchildren do not want it, he will leave it to the Royal Horticultural Society. This mini ecosystem is an excellent micro-version of the Earth as a whole and a great representation of existing ecosystem types. We could say that it is a microcosm of the Earth. When analyzing this case, we can think that the Earth is also a closed system, that it works in a similar way, but on a large scale. Do we live in a closed world? In ancient times, all cultures had flat Earth cosmology and represented it similarly. For example, the ancient Chinese, the Hindus, the Sumerians, the Chaldeans, the Hebrews, the Egyptians, the Babylonians, Greeks, Vikings, and Mayans all had a similar cosmology and described the flat Earth with a dome or dome in the sky that covers it. So it was for more than 5,000 years. In the book of Genesis, which is the first book of the Torah or Pentateuch, The first book of the Jewish Tanakh and the Old Testament of the Christian Bible says the following. Genesis 1:7. And God made the firmament, and parted the waters that were under the firmament, of the waters that were above the firmament. And it was so. Genesis 1:14. And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament from the heavens to separate day from night, and be it for signs, and for the seasons, and for days and years. There is also the name firmament of heaven, formerly considered as a solid construction in which the stars were fixed. From the etymological family of firm. And in other parts of the Bible and the book of Enoch this is also mentioned, in relation to the flat earth. That is, the ancestors knew that at the top there is a kind of hard roof that protects us from something. The Hebrews considered the vault of heaven as a solid and physical object above the flat earth. As I mentioned before, according to the creation story in Genesis, God created the firmament to separate the waters from above, from the land of the waters below. And this may not be a metaphor. Before making the dry land appear on the third day of creation, the Creator raised part of the waters. In this way the earth was surrounded by a canopy of water vapor. The ancient account does not say how this elevation took place, but focuses on the expansion that formed between the upper and surface waters, which he calls heavens. Some of those upstream waters were able to stay there until they probably rushed on earth in Noah's time. This historical event left an indelible mark on the human survivors and their descendants. As anthropologists have observed when finding the account of the flood reflected in different cultures from all over the earth. The gases of the atmosphere and their different layers only make sense in a closed system that can contain them. According to the study of the description of the earth and sky in ancient cultures, clearly, it is mentioned that the dome is very strong and has a high degree of transparency. And in this regard, there is a theory that the dome could be completely diamond, for having the highest hardness among minerals. With this, many can assume that all diamonds on Earth are separable parts of the dome that gradually fell to the ground for so long. So in the past, there were massive attacks on the dome, and although it is strong, this led to its partial destruction. And it is possible that, because of this, it will be repaired periodically. From this point of view, it could be related to the fall of meteorites and, in general, the existence of meteor showers. This of course is not exact and is based on assumptions. In several of the current models of the flat Earth, a dome is also taken into account or dome. Although it is not possible to know exactly what it was made of or how to check its existence. It is thought that it may be possible due to the information and references found in different cultures and religions around the world since ancient time. Apparently this layer of stars, which is observed over the sky and which has been described now as an infinite universe, is cyclical, repeats itself over and over again in its movements, which for some could even be a kind of hologram. Since there is no way to know if what we see in the sky are physical objects or electromagnetic, and that energy we can see and measure. The sky is charged with energy that covers the earth, then you can't go anywhere, nor can you fly further. We are settled here, we live under this great roof. In AC rocket launches you always see liftoff. But we never see their arrival in space live, we only see that they are lost in the distance on a curved path. Of course there are still many enigmas that we hope will be discovered or revealed in the future. For example, What's beyond Antarctica? Will there be a land boundary that approaches the dome? Just as David Latimer created his ecosystem inside the bottle, similar to ours. So a creator God put us in here? Thanks to this era of telecommunications, we are connected to the internet of a continent to another through submarine cables, is that we can discuss these issues. Share information that before there was no way, and that the mainstream media they will never want. Remember that only study, research and analysis lead to true understanding of the facts. And only on the basis of these data, should a person come to conclusions that determine his view of the world. They are the conclusions that flow from reality, not the other way around.